Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast for your ears. This time we're going to be talking about super audio CDs and the DSD format. So before your eyes glaze over and you go, oh my God, what nerd stuff is he going to talk about? Several years ago, Sony and other companies got together to create the Super Audio CD. It was a CD that you could buy that had a layer that would play on a regular CD player. And if you had a Super Audio CD player, you could play the other layer, which had high-resolution audio and sometimes multi-channel surround sound audio. Now, the format still is around. Every once in a while, you'll see one, but I'm someone who's been a collector of surround sound discs since the early 5.1 DVD-As. I have several. Now that I have all of my stuff from Florida, I've been going through it, and I got together all my old DVD-As. These were record label releases. Everything from Donald Fagen and Steely Dan to Linkin Park and Stone Temple Pilots had 5.1 mixes on DVD audio. There were also videos on there and that kind of stuff, and they came in these super boxes that were pretty rigid plastic that breaks over time, as it turns out. Anyway, I've got 5, 6, 7, 8 of those, and they're 5.1 surround mixes, and they're really good. Then as more bands and artists got into releasing 5.1, I've got a lot of Dolby Digital 5.1 mixes and DTS 5.1 mixes. In recent years, people like Steven Wilson and other remixers and remastering houses have gotten into Dolby Atmos and 7.1 and things like that. So as a collector of all of these, I've known they've always been a niche thing, but if I have a surround sound system in my house, why would I not have audio to play like I have so many movies? I have thousands of movies. Why not have some music in surround sound if it makes sense? And over the years, like when Rush released their 3 box sets of all their albums remastered, they put one surround sound disc in each one of those box sets. The surround sound mixes were okay. It was the early days, but it was fine. Steven Wilson has done like the entire Marillion collection, and all of those Marillion early box sets come with Blu-rays and DVDs in them with surround sound audio that are incredibly well done by him. Bands like Yes have had their stuff remixed into Dolby Atmos and surround sound by Steven Wilson and things like this. So as the years went on and more artists, more bands, more labels got into surround sound, I would just pick up that version if it was available. In the last year, new albums from Peter Gabriel, from Pearl Jam, and obviously from Steven Wilson because he's got an Atmos studio at his house. But the new Peter Gabriel album, I.O., the new Pearl Jam album, Dark Matter, are better in Atmos than they are in stereo. They are. They have been mixed with great love and care by people who understand the format. Now, I've talked in previous movie podcasts and other surround sound podcasts about the difference between Dolby Atmos and DTS-X, which are object-based surround sound, and things like 5.1 and 7.1. So I won't get into that in this particular podcast. But why I'm mentioning all of this is because I have a selection of super audio CDs I've never been able to play. My Blu-ray players, for one reason or another, couldn't deduce that layer, whatever you want to say. And then I've had a Sony 4K player for the last 3 years, but I didn't have the DSD disc to test them in it. So now that I have them, I popped one in last night. I'm unpacking, I'm emptying these boxes, and I've gotten out most of my music already. And I'm like, all these Elton John, these super audio CDs, I bought all these pretty cheap back in the day, and I've never really listened to. I wonder how it's going to work on my current system. Popped into my Sony X700 4K player instantly. Super audio CD, DSD format, multi-channel audio, and the difference between DSD and WAVE is pretty significant, actually, if you know how the technology works. Does one sound better to the natural ear? Maybe not, but DSD is a format that all of these super audio discs are recorded in, and right now in 2024, pretty much only audiophiles, audio record labels and stuff work in DSD. It's a completely different format than WAVE. WAVE can be converted into many lossless things or lossy things from FLAC to MP3, but DSD is a different animal, and you have to have the right equipment to decode it. The difference, to not get too technical with it, but a CD sample rate is at 44 kilohertz. It's sampling 16 bits at 44,000 times a second. whereas DSD does 1 bit but 2.8 million times a second. Supposedly, DSD captures more nuances, more fine particulate audio that you just don't get with WAV or anything else. It is arguably, to audiophiles, the best way to capture a performance. But again, not everybody is working in DSD. Well, Sony and a couple other companies like Philips, who got involved with Super Audio CD and DSD, did double down on that. And again, here we are in 2024, over a decade later since some of these discs came out. It's still a niche format. It hasn't caught on, but yet there are several production houses that I follow on YouTube. They all have DSD consoles. They all work in DSD, which is completely different than WAV. When it comes out of really expensive speakers, you can usually tell a difference. In my home stereo, in my surround sound in my living room, I could tell a difference. I popped in just a regular old 5.1 mix of an Elton John album and then popped in the Super Audio disc I have of it, and it was better. Now, that probably comes down to the person who was doing the mixing. I think it was 2 different engineers worked on those 2 different things. And the way that DSD and Super Audio CD decodes in surround sound, I am not 100% read up on. I need to be now, but I've never been able to play them before. I bought all of these DSD encoded discs because they had a regular layer that I could play on CD. Foo Fighters several years ago released a double album, and it was available in each CD came as a dual disc, and it would have a DVD on the other side. Dual disc was a version of this that didn't take off. So then they just went with Super Audio disc. I can't wait. I have a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon Super Audio disc, and I also have Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon Dolby Atmos mix and a Dark Side of the Moon 5.1 mix. So I'm going to test all 3 of those discs and give you a comparison. But anyway, the whole reason I'm recording this is because I was very excited that I finally have a way to listen to the Super Audio disc, and I have a whole bunch of them. So I listened to Elton John's Madman Across the Water and his self-titled album. Both of them were on par, if not better, than any CD version I've ever heard. Deeper, richer, thicker, if that makes any sense. It sounds like he was there in the room. I don't know. I will go into great detail on how these were mixed and mastered and remastered and all that, but they do sound incredible. And I've got quite a few to go through. But the first 2 I listened to last night, it was about an hour and a half of pure sonic bliss as I'm opening boxes, alphabetizing movies and stuff. I had this on. I'm going, that song sounds better than it's ever sounded before. Stop for a minute and just listen to like Leave On or Tiny Dancer, something like that. It's just piano and vocals mostly to begin with. The clarity is incredible. So, if you've ever had a chance to get into surround sound audio, and maybe you have a surround sound system, check to see if your Blu-ray or 4K player can do Super Audio disc and get some. They are not horribly expensive. A lot of these didn't come in special editions. They came individually, and granted, it's a format that didn't take off, so if you find them in like a secondhand store or whatever, you're getting a great deal because the audio is incredible in quality. So, like I said, I've got quite a few of these Super Audio discs. I have a lot of Elton John, a lot of his 70s albums, and quite a few other things. So I'll add that to my review queue on these podcasts because I'm really blown away by the sound quality. And I'll compare them when I have the opportunity to with a 5.1 disc or a 7.1 disc or an Atmos disc that I also have. So, is everybody going to like switching to this? No, and I'm not switching to it. For me, it was buy the CD or buy the Super Audio CD and get both. Why not, if you're collecting Blu-rays now, get the 4K that has the Blu-ray in it? Then you're future-proofed. That was what I was doing with these audio CDs. I have a Diana Krall that I got because it was really, really cheap. I'm not the biggest fan, but she's very, very talented and writes some great music. And it was a Super Audio disc. I can't wait to pop that in here because it's something outside of my normal listening. I also have a lot of European progressive and progressive metal bands that have gotten into 5.1 and Atmos over the last few years, and some of them have also released Super Audio. But I get the idea that it's more expensive and a little more difficult to release a Super Audio CD. Anyway, if you're a fan of this kind of thing, be on the lookout for it when you go to secondhand stores and CD shops, because a lot of people don't know what they have as far as it goes. Like I said, I bought a Dark Side of the Moon years ago. It looks like a regular CD, but on the back it's got the Super Audio logo, and it says in fine print, on a Super Audio player, you're going to get, channel surround sound and all that. Well, you do. It's amazing. I'm finally listening to that layer. And why is another reason why I haven't done it? My Panasonic 4K player doesn't really do Super Audio. It does all of the other formats, but not a Super Audio CD. So I kept my Sony 700 that was being replaced by this Panasonic, and I kept it specifically for this, and it worked flawlessly. Congratulations to Sony. You make a much better Blu-ray player and a much better audio player than you make a 4K player. A lot of freezing on that. And I'll do a comparison review at some point. Anyway, sorry to babble so long. I'm just excited to have another audio format that's actually been around for a little while, but I've never really got to fully experience it. Even my Onkyo receiver said DSD audio. It said Super Audio CD. It decoded everything directly from the Sony player. Very impressed so far with the technology. Now, one thing I don't like about Super Audio CD, in the two that I watched, there was no video component at all, and I don't know if they can. Like DVD-A's, DVD audio, and some of the Blu-ray audio, there is usually some kind of video component. For the Pearl Jam album and the Peter Gabriel album, Pearl Jam puts up some animation, Peter Gabriel put up some artwork, Steven Wilson usually puts up some static images and things like that. But for the Super Audio CDs, there was no video component at all. I just got the standard menu like I was playing a CD, except in the corner it didn't say CD, it said Super Audio CD, and it said, instead of WAV or MP3, it said DSD audio 2.8 megahertz at 1 bit. That's just impressive. Go look up the technology. It's pretty cool. Anyway, we'll talk more about audio. We'll talk more about videos. And like I said, I'm unboxing all sorts of stuff that I haven't been able to review before. So lots of reviews coming. Thank you for listening to a geeky podcast. I hope we have a spectacular day. Rock on.